So we'll see how this will go. I hope the audio is good. I don't know if there's a chat or something where you can write in. I don't think so. Sadly not. Manage space. Speaker. Huh. Oh well. Yeah, I started a bit earlier just to be sure. Like I said, stream is scheduled at 2 p.m. That is wrong. So we're just sitting here for now and wait till the guy is coming. And then we'll talk about what communism is according to Marx. So to clarify that again, this is only about what communism is according to Marx. It's not about if it works or not. We all already know that it doesn't, so we don't have to talk about that. This is this is literally just what does Marx say communism is, and what did Marx propose? Maybe we get to that as well. I at least have the sections from the Manifesto of the Communist Party of how we achieve communism. How do we get from a capitalist society through a process towards a communist society, which is commonly referred as the socialism, which would be the transition process from capitalism to communism. However, Marx, and that is quite important to know, Marx did not use the term socialism in this context. I think Engels did later on, though take that with a grain of salt. I'm not 100% sure of that. But generally speaking, today is the term socialism is used to describe the process from capitalism to communism. So Marx did not use the term that way, but he did describe a transition process in some way, which is also outlined in the Manifesto of the Communist Party, because obviously the Manifesto of the Communist Party is about what will the Communist Party do when they get into power, meaning that's literally the transition process we're talking about. But he also outlines what communism will look like when it is finally established, and how society will change for that. So we're getting to that as well. But yeah, like I said, it's not about will it work or not. We already know communism doesn't work. We don't have to talk about that anymore. We're just talking about what is it according to Marx. What other people say doesn't matter. It's literally just what does Marx think it is. But currently we're still waiting. Bro's still not online. I hope he didn't forget or tries to get away from the from the debate. He was pretty loud about getting here, so I hope he comes. Um, Hopefully, he said he won't insult me, which I was kind of sad about. So in the text discussion when it was in the Twitter replies on another tweet, he insulted me quite a lot, called me a faggot, a furry, all this kind of stuff, and I thought that was insanely funny. And when he said, I will have live I want a live debate with you, faggot, or something like that, he said. I was so eager to have a debate with him because I would have been funny as hell when he just joins and constantly insults me. But he said he won't do that, so I'm kind of sad about that. Otherwise, I would have a lot of fun here. Sadly, we don't get to that. Too bad. I hope we would. People are constantly joining in and out. It's kind of weird. Is it normal, or is it? Do you all have internet issues or something? Sadly, we don't have a Twitter chat here, but my DMs should be open. Otherwise, just talk to me on Discord. There's like my I think my pin tweet is my pin tweet has a Twitter Discord invite to my Discord server where you can join, and then you can easily immediately contact me in DMs if there are any questions or something to the debate. if y'all have that. Currently, he's not there yet. He has 2 minutes more to appear, or he's not very punctual, which I hate as a German. Yeah, in Germany, when you're not on time at workplace, you get shot in the head. Yeah, you're killed immediately. So, hopefully he comes punctual, or I have to kill him. German invents. Ah, yeah, you can reply on others. Oh, that's good. Oh, well, at least there. Germans invents communism in 1848. German destroys communism. Well, to be fair, communism as an idea is a lot older than 1848. The first attempt of communism, although it wasn't called communism back then, was Jamestown. When Jamestown was founded in America, and that's where Thanksgiving comes from. That's why communists hate Thanksgiving, by the way, because when Jamestown was founded, they had this communal structure where everything was owned by everyone, and everyone would be given according to their needs. And yeah, in the end, they were almost all starved to death. If the Indians wouldn't have come and literally saved their life, yeah, that didn't work. Communism doesn't work since the 16th century or something. I don't know, when was Jamestown founded? I'm bad at history. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes. Yeah, I hope my audio is good and you can all hear me perfectly. If not, so just please tell me. But I just assume it should work. Oh, people are joining my Discord server. I always like to see that. People are joining, but not the communist. He should be here now, in this minute, but he isn't. Please come online. Yeah, I hope everyone's day was nice so far. And yeah, it's Friday. Hell yeah. Soon it's finally weekend. I hate weekends. Stock market is closed on weekends. Oh, I get messages on Discord. Oh yeah. Based capitalism, by the way. Yeah, absolutely. I love capitalism. It's the best system in the universe. Technically, it's not a system. It's more of the absence of a system. Was Jamestown founded in 1619? Like that's where 16. Could be. I should Google that. Wait a second. Jamestown founded. 1607. Yeah, Jamestown, Virginia, 1607. Okay. Okay, well then it was the 17th century, not 16th century. My fault. I'm bad at history. I'm sorry. Don't punch me. He's still not online. DM's checking. Oh, he's also not here. Yeah. Yeah, the guy I'm debating, I think he's a member of the ACP. Probably never heard of that. ACP is the American Communist Party. And yeah, they're like a very new communist party in America. They're like MAGA conservatives, MAGA communists. That's the correct term. So they're essentially conservatives, but as communists. It's a bit confusing. So they hate free trade and free markets and all that kind of stuff, and they want everything controlled by the state. They're more like fascists. But they don't like to use the term because fascist has a very, very negative connotation to it. But yeah, pointing that out, that poisoning the well. Yeah. Shouldn't talk like that. Not yet. Not yet. So yeah, we will talk about what Karl Marx thought is communism is, and obviously ACP members would disagree with me what Karl Marx thought communism is, because they are statists, as far as I know. They're not the communists in the Marxist sense. They're more like statists, like conservative statists, like fascists, similar to China. They want some system similar to Mao's China or the Soviet Union, as far as I'm aware. But I could be wrong there, so take that with a grain of salt. I never read their program. Oh well, I skipped through it. They want to nationalize essentially everything, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't think they want to restrict free speech like the communists did in the Soviet Union or Mao's China. But they would, if they would get into power, they would be required. They would need to restrict free speech. Otherwise, the system will completely collapse, like it always did. Communist and dissent is that's impossible. You can't be a dissident in communism. That makes you a gulag personal. He's still not here. It's 4 minutes after. I hope he comes. Otherwise, I just talk to one of your for a bit. ACPs are also in a cult. They have divine knowledge. They understand what Marx really meant, unlike you. Yeah. That's the very common theme that I experience quite often with communists. That they will just accuse you of, oh, you haven't read the book, and when you prove that you have read the book, they will accuse you of, oh, you didn't understand the book. And when you literally quote Marx exactly saying what you just said, they will just say, oh, it's the wrong translation. Uh, and then you go to the German original copy, and then you show them that, and they will and then they get completely crazy about that. I don't know, like, you can be correct about what Marx thought if you're not agreeing with it, or you must think he was wrong because you're somehow wrong morally or something. I don't know. um well, yeah, communists, they absolutely can't stand people disagreeing with them. They probably also never read anything outside of the filter bubble. Like, I read communist literature, which is will become very apparent if we actually get into the debate when it finally joins. But after 5 minutes, he's still not here. Gosh, if you were my employee, I would have fired you. Just letting you know that. Oh man. I get more messages German when someone is 5 seconds later to anything. Yeah, literally. You can't be. How can you not be punctual? At least I was online 10 minutes before the actual scheduled time for this debate. And I think it is a matter of respect, showing respect to your opponent, to be on time. I have other things to do. I'm not sitting here because well, okay, to be honest, I do enjoy it, but I enjoy the debate, not sitting here literally talking to myself while y'all listening here, because that's currently what's going on. I'm just having a monologue and try to answer some questions on Discord or in my notifications here on Twitter, but there's nothing in my Twitter notifications. Too bad. You cannot know because you aren't supposed to know. Yeah, I know. Is it possible to, like, what is that? Ooh, y'all can use, like, symbols. Does someone want to talk here? One of y'all. Use the emoji function to say something, to ask me if you want to talk, and then we can talk together, because I'm bored. I have no patience, guys. So when you go on the bottom right of the funny little stream here, there's like this heart with a plus symbol. Oh, random. Yeah, you want to talk? Okay. Let me invite you real quick. How is that possible? It's here. Invite speaker. Yes. Send invite. I think that should work.
Am I gone?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
To be perfectly honest, I didn't. I just randomly pushed the buttons because I just randomly felt like it. But I
Oh,
guess if you want to randomly talk, I'll talk. What do you
yeah.
want to talk about?
I don't know. I'm here actually for a debate, and the other guy is not here. Still not
Sure
here.
thing.
It's like 8 minutes. He should be here for 8 minutes now.
All right. Cool. Cool. So I have a quick question. What got you into like all this anarcho-capitalist stuff, anyways? I mean, capitalism is pretty cool, but I'm just curious about that.
Uh, oh, that was back in Germany when I joined the MLPD, which is a parody party. It's not a real party. It's a parody party to a Marxist-Leninist party, and they essentially parodied them as the anarcho-capitalist equivalent by giving them the exactly same name and all. And that's kind of where I got in touch with actual anarcho-capitalist for the first time. I already knew like Austrian literature to a large degree before that. Um, so I was quite susceptible to that. I don't know.
All right. All right. I mean, we all start somewhere. I
Yeah,
started my I started my political ideas from video games, and you could probably guess how I turned out because of that.
video games like what?
Basically, it all started
4K.
with one video game. Basically I looked at my nation, realized how small it was like, all right, let me get into history. Got into history, got into politics. I got into a lot of politics. Too much, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Don't want to speak about it.
Well, my deeper understanding of everything developed a lot with my world building. Because I worked the Vexim Empire out as accurate as possible, and
Yeah, I did like that. I do
yeah,
like your empire. It's pretty
and
cool.
reading a lot about economics and such. Obviously, develop when you get deeper into the understanding of social structures, and economics is a social science, so you get deeper into general social science to understand human interaction and dynamics in a
Hmm.
large scale, because that's what economics essentially is. How do people use goods among each others, and how do they
Oh, someone new just
trade and
joined.
such. Oh
Is
yeah.
he the guy?
No.
Someone new just joined. Oh no, never mind. Sorry for
No.
interrupting you.
No, all good. um yeah, where was I? Yeah, right. So when you try to build a nation, and you work out the social structures, the economy, how the government works, all this kind of stuff, you go a lot into social science, and with it, obviously, economics. And the Austrian school of economics was the most usable that is out there. It is relatively easy to understand, even for people who have no idea about economics, because it is logical, consistent, and it doesn't make convoluted, insane structures and ideas that, when you actually write them down in a more simplistic manner, they make no sense whatsoever. Like Keynesianism. I mean, when you take like Keynesianist literature, and you take the essential core points of it out of it, write it into one document or like 1 or 2 pages, it makes no sense. It's a complete insane ideological crap. Just very similar to Marxist literature or the Frankfurt School.
Yeah.
It makes
Hmm.
no sense when you actually simplify the ideas behind it, essentially, in a simplistic way that it is actually understandable. The only reason why it's hard to attack is because they have very, very convoluted texts, um, with a lot of you know um, talking around the actual point. And
Interesting.
that's very, very apparent in Marxist literature. Less so in Engels. Engels was a lot more, and you have to say that's something you can say. Engels did good. Engels was very straightforward when he with his propositions about what communism would look like and what it would develop towards. Marx did not do that. Marx never made a straightforward point. He always talked around the fucking point, and that is very annoying. So when you want to understand Marx, you actually have to read the entire damn text and put a lot of the things he says into context. And you have to make a lot of connections to previous statements on entirely different pages to make sense of it, because it means otherwise, it just as a statement itself without the wider context, it makes no sense. It means nothing. It's literally just nothing. It's just words, and that's very much how Marx writes everything, and that is insanely annoying. So when he finally does a straightforward point, that's a special thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you actually even look at many of Marx's, readers, you could honestly quite see that many of them also just completely ignore some things he says. For example, fun fact, I'm pretty sure, if not mistaken, since I actually did once read like some parts of Marx's work, I'm pretty sure in one point he actually, I think, claimed that America would democratically become like communist or whatever, and like because he says like, yes, fun fact, you can democratically, you don't always have to like do like a violent revolution or something like that, and also the fact that he thought like Germany was going to be the first communist nation, which I
Oh,
actually feel, because honestly I feel like that's like one issue he didn't see coming, is that the fact that more industrialized nations, in my personal opinion, I feel like are less likely to become communist because they actually grow a lot more economically, compared to, they go grow a lot more economically. Like I'm sure you probably would say that it's like a trickle down effect. You know what I mean? With capitalism in a
no,
way.
it's not really trickled down. It's quite a misconception of how economics works. It's just the growing of the general economic productivity, and therefore a wider access to goods and services for the general
Yeah.
population. It's not quite trickle down, because it doesn't trickle down from anywhere. It's just it didn't exist in the first place. It is created in the moment. What Marx was talking about. So Marx did think that the more industrialized a civilization is, the more likely it will become communist. He thought that because of his shrinking markets. Ideology. It's quite complicated and convoluted again. It's essentially proposes that the more advanced, the higher the productivity, the larger the scale of industry, the more they will steer towards communism. Um, and the reason why he thought that democratic process will eventually lead to communist systems is because he thought that when the workers and when the proletariat, which is obviously the majority of the population, has this shared interest of abolishing the
Mm-hmm.
classes in society, and that would mean that through the democratic process, a dictatorship of the proletariat would be established, and this dictatorship would essentially rule over the bourgeoisie until it's entirely abolished. And he made even like a several points plan for the Communist Party in Germany, how to get there. What does the Communist Party need to establish to abolish the classes, with it class distinctions, and with it ultimately the state as a whole, and create a truly communist society. Um, he made this point, this list of points a bit more short. Engels was a bit more precise in that. He explained the point, each and every point, a bit more into detail, and he also clarified at the end of this point list that with the establishment of communism, the use of money will become superfluous, and it will essentially cease to exist, because without class distinctions, there's no point in money. And that's essentially what they believed. None of that happened. They're entirely insane. The entire
Of
ideology makes
course.
no
Of
sense
course.
whatsoever. But back then they somehow, because they were so deep in their ideology, that they couldn't comprehend that reality is not what they believe. They
I mean, to be
essentially
fair, it's a lot more easier. I mean, to be fair, it's a lot more easier to write something down on a piece of text and say that's what's going to happen instead of it actually happening in reality. Because right now, I can make a story about if we all just believe that we're all super rich and that we're all going to live in a paradise, if we all hold hands, it'll happen. Obviously, it won't. But hey, if you believe it enough, maybe in your own dumb fantasy world, it might happen. This is
you,
obviously a
you
joke.
could argue I honestly believe that Marx and Engels did believe in this garbage. So the reason why they believed in it is because they essentially tricked themselves into believing it through all the crap they manufactured in their books, in their texts. And I can open the manifesto of the Communist Party here. I have it. Wait a second.
Oh yeah, by the way, I also gotta compliment you. You do seem to know your stuff a lot.
Yeah, but I have I made several I marked some parts in the manifesto of the Communist Party. Um,
Very neat.
where's the there. Conditions of the bourgeoisie implication to abolish money, the withering away of classes and unifying society as a whole. On page 53. Let's see. When in the course of development, class distinction have disappeared and all production has been concentrated in the hands of the vast association of the whole nation, the public power will lose its political character. Political power, property so called, is merely the organized power of one class for oppressing another. If the proletariat, during its contest with the bourgeoisie, is compelled by the force of circumstances to organize itself as a class, if, by means of a revolution, it makes itself the ruling class, and as such sweeps away all the by force the old conditions of production, then it will, along with the conditions, have swept away the conditions for the existence of class antagonism and of classes generally, and will thereby have abolished its own supremacy as a class. That's essentially what I just described.
Mm-hmm.
The workers take control, they abolish the bourgeoisie, and with it, classes. Because when there's only one class, there's no class. And when the classes are abolished, political power and property is abolished, and with it, the state.
Yep.
That's essentially what he
Yeah.
says.
Very interesting. And of course, unfortunately, there's only one small, tiny issue.
It doesn't
Before
work.
you can ever, before you can even ever reach that stage, you have to create a class who can lead them, quote unquote. Unfortunately, that class that tries to lead them often doesn't want to give up their power. What I can see throughout history.
Yeah, so he said that the association of workers will collectively manage the means of production, and it will essentially be the entire production, every single step of production, meaning the mines, the mills, the factories, the workshops, the businesses, every single step of producing stuff, mining stuff, harvesting stuff, and providing services. All of that will be owned by one large worker cooperative, essentially. And everyone will be provided according to their needs. Uh,
Quick question. Oh, sorry for interrupting you again. I really have a bad habit of that. But my second question is, quick question? Did Marx ever say how they're going to communicate that all effectively?
no.
Because last I checked, telling how is it? When was Marx alive again? I want
Like
to start.
19th century.
All right, because back then, most nations had like around 30 million people. You know, most major nations. How are you going to tell 30 million people and cooperate with them all effectively to figure out what they're all going to need?
That's
He
the
never wrote
thing.
that. I don't think he really wrote that.
That's even funnier because he said, in another part of the Communist Manifesto that I could look up again, he wants to abolish nations, meaning that all civilized nations will gradually become more of a one big nation, and all workers will be united in all of those nations together, and there will be one worker cooperatives in all of these nations. National borders between civilized nations will cease to exist, essentially. Meaning you won't have 30 million people or something in this mega association of workers, but hundreds of millions. So, yes, communicating and distributing the resources, managing the resources, managing what to produce and what quantities and how do you distribute it to everyone according to their needs. All of that, no explanation whatsoever. Marx never provided any of that. Nor did Engels, by the way. They just said it will work somehow. They were not economists, by the way. Marx never studied economics. He is
I'm pretty sure
not
he
an
studied
economist.
arts. I think.
He studied philosophy. I think Hitler wanted to study art.
No, yeah, you're right. It's probably philosophy.
Yeah, yeah.
I just probably got confused because philosophy and art are pretty close together.
Philosophy and I think journalism, maybe. I know that he
Yeah,
was
I'm actually
active in
gonna look that
journalism,
up.
though.
Just give me a quick second. I'm gonna look it up. What he studied.
Yeah.
Um,
But
what
like I said, he never provided an explanation of how to allocate those resources and how to manage all of those. He believed that money is evil. He called money the jealous god of Israel, and he thought it was a Jewish thing and it should be abolished because he also hated the Jews. I could have guessed.
Yep, it's classic anti-Semitism. You know, whatever likes to talk about that.
The
Whoever likes
commies
to talk
never
about.
talk about that part. That's true.
I mean, it's like it's like they always like they was the first ones to always point out, oh, a U.S. president is super racist, even though their favorite communist leaders are always super racist. I mean, to be fair, it was kind of like 1800s. Everyone was a bit racist.
I can quote here from wait a second, what is it? From the Jewish question. Karl Marx said about money: "Money is the jealous god of Israel, in face of which no other god may exist. Money degrades all the good of man, all gods of man, and truths, and turns them into commodities. Money is the universal self-established value of all things. It has therefore robbed the whole world, both the world of man and nature, of its specific value. Money is the estranged essence of man's work and man's existence, and this alien essence dominates him, and he worships it. The god of the Jew has become secularized and has become the god of the world. The bill of exchange is the real god of the Jew. His god is only a illusionary bill of exchange."
Mhm.
That's what he thought as money, and that's evil, and it must wither away. He didn't say it should be abolished. He didn't outright say that because, like I said, Marx never made a concrete, straightforward claim, or at least very rarely. However, um, where is it?
You know, I have a
However,
quick question. Continue.
yeah,
Ignore
Friedrich
me.
Engels did say that after time. No, that's not the correct. There it is. Engels, however, said in a complimentary work about to the manifesto for the Communist Party. Engels said, "Finally, when all capital, all production, all exchange have been brought together in the hands of the nation, private property will disappear of its own accord. Money will become superfluous." Meaning it will wither away, and production will so expand and man so change that society will be able to slaughter off whatever of its old economic habits may remain. So, yeah, money will become superfluous, it will cease to exist, it won't have any value in society anymore because there's no point in having money when everything is already in control of the workers. There is no exchange of goods because everything
Yep.
is owned by the state, or by,
Yep.
he didn't call it the state. According to Marx, it's not the state, it's then a big association of workers, which is not the state because it's not political. For something to be political, there must be at least two classes that have a class struggle, and that's essentially what the state is. Without that, there is no state. There's only an association of everyone, essentially.
Yeah. Fortunately, for obvious reasons. My personal opinion, communism can only ever work with a small amount of people and never in a large amount of people because just the amount of logistics, the
Well,
amount of communication is
to
not.
be honest, Jamestown was quite small. It didn't work either.
I remember Jamestown. You know what? I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I'm actually working on making my own little sci-fi universe, and I have a quick question. What's your personal opinion on technocracy? In my personal opinion, I remember someone made a joke. Technocracy is basically communism, but basically without its lies.
Well, technocracy is essentially communism by the rule of experts, which means that there is still, well, it's not communism in the Marxist sense. It would be
I know.
socialism then. It would be a socialist society. It's more fascist in character than actually communist, because instead of having the big worker association, and the workers will rule everything together. You have a group of experts that will control all of society,
I
and
know that's
that is a lot more socialist in character because there's still a class struggle essentially.
yeah. Honestly, that's the reason why I made that joke, because if you actually look at any actual communist society, basically you have the ruling elite who basically are supposed to help the people, actually do what they're supposed to do, and then you have the workers. I don't know, just it's basically it's first a joke I heard someone say once, but basically technocracy is basically just communism or socialism with them getting straight to the point of being like, basically getting to their end game, be like, sorry kids, remember how we said we're going to give everyone equal management in the workplace? Well, we lied. Basically, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty much how it effectively turns out. But yeah, technocracy can't work either because the only way you can have an efficient allocation of resources is through a price structure, and that price structure must be free. It can't be
Mm-hmm.
not free, because when it isn't free, you essentially have a centralized organ trying to direct all the resources in society as efficient as possible, but that is based is entirely on guesses, because the amount of information required to do that efficiently is so huge, and you couldn't even make any sense of it without money, that it doesn't work. So you need money. It's literally the only way to have a civilized society with several steps of production with money,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it.
Yeah.
For that, I would advise. I recently bought a book. Where is it? Wait a
You know
second.
what's called?
There we go. Now I have it. So, from Ludwig von Mises, that is Money and Credit, the theory of money and credit. I can very much advise to read that, because on the first few pages of this book it already explains what money is, what it is good for, and why it is the foundation of also civilization essentially.
Yeah.
And
All
yeah,
right.
without it doesn't work. Is
Hmm.
technocracy
And
good or bad? Yeah, like I said, it's bad.
yeah, I mean, to be fair, in my story, I do paint it as basically a bit of dystopian area. Basically, it's basically everyone gets what they want. It's a very technologically advanced society. Only issue is that if you don't follow the government, congratulations, you're gonna starve to death.
Yeah,
Because basically in the system, basically they mostly use machinery to help control people and to help actually count everyone and what they need. Unfortunately, they also kind of like a point system, like of China.
Th-
You know,
that's the thing. You still can't really know what they need. Well, you can make estimates of what they need for basic survival. So obviously, with a more advanced society, you could establish a technocracy where at least no one will starve, but the quality of life will be incredibly low compared to a capitalist society on a similar advanced stage. Because if you want to know what people desire more over other goods, you need the price structure. What money does is essentially um, tell the producers what the intensity of the whole of society or a large group of people in a given territory is the intensity of the desire for that good. Because the more intense this desire is, the more they are willing to spend on it. And when supply is low, obviously the price will rise in accordance
obviously.
to this intensity. But otherwise, that's not possible to determine. What are you gonna do? Give everyone a piece of paper saying, "Oh yeah, I want it on a scale of 1 to 10." You can't really do that until, in many cases, it's impossible to do that until the point where you stand actually in front of the shelf and want it. And the desires, they change so often every few minutes that it's literally impossible to predict this properly.
Of course, of course. So I have a quick question. I have a lot of questions, but so anyways, what do you think will stop this? Because I'm obviously not the believer that capitalism is bad. I personally believe it's actually quite good. But a lot of people criticize capitalism, especially more agro capitalism, because they're like, what if the government, like, well, no, not the government. I mean, what if the corporations end up uniting and becoming so big that there is no more competition?
Well,
What's your argument to that? Because I heard a lot of people saying that.
sure. So there were attempts in the past to do that, and all of them failed because one at some point one of these one of these companies in this large mega conglomerate will think about, I can do that a bit cheaper and a bit more efficient. Why don't I fuck them over? And then they usually do. And that's how these mega cartels often then vanish from the market. And even when you have a large cartel, there will always be the possibility that one of the smaller companies will step up and still completely dismantle this cartel or compete with this cartel without any problems. There are many examples, like for example, the Dow chemical company. Probably heard of that. It's a publicly traded large corporation today. Back then, it was a medium-sized business, and they completely dismantled an entire conglomerate until they finally stopped their predatory pricing because it didn't work at them. They essentially just purchased the below production costs stock off and then sold it for more it was somewhere else and made huge tons of money on their expense. So it's very hard to actually monopolize when there's no state interference, because under normal conditions, there are all kinds of regulations that create these monopolies. Another thing
Oh,
would be patent monopolies. Like John Deere, for example. The only reason why John Deere doesn't have any serious competitors in the United States is because they own, what is it, over 35,000 patents. It's
yeah.
literally illegal to compete with them.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? There's actually one recent one, which is basically, Sony, the gaming corporation that's becoming a little bit too big in my personal opinion. That's basically saying they have no more games, but now they're never going to. But they have like actually like a ton of games, but they won't want to remake them or like make a sequel. For example, Killzone. I remember playing that as a kid. It was a pretty fun game. Well, they said they're not really going to use that again. But like many of these corporations, like these gaming corporations, at the same time, won't let you use basically their products or any of their things, even though they're never going to use it again. Hell, if you actually look at like someplace like Nintendo, I'm pretty sure they literally own like patents for like the throwing the balls, like their Pokeballs things, which is pretty crazy. How can you own a patent on that? Patents are pretty
There are
crazy.
insane patents all over the place. So Sony, guess how many patents they have?
I guess I'm 4,200.
95,533
Oh
patents.
my god.
78% of them are active currently. And these are globally held patents. So 95,533 patents globally. That is insane. The only reason why they don't have a serious competitor is because of this patent monopoly. Otherwise, Samsung could produce the exact same shit they produce. They could make their own PlayStation with the same software whatsoever, and they wouldn't have this mega monopoly over the PlayStation. The PlayStation
Yeah.
could be a lot cheaper if it wouldn't be a monopolized product, but it
I
is.
mean, they like one of their gaming consoles I probably cost like 700 or 900 for
Yeah,
it basically like zero changes.
yeah.
It's
You
crazy.
can get a very decent computer that has a lot more abilities than that, for the same price. So literally, the
Basically,
only reason why Sony has this power currently is because they have a lot of patents. Similar with Apple. Obviously, they have patents of all kinds of electronic. They're also often it's not even the product themselves that is patented. You can technically produce it, but the production method to produce that product is patented. So you can't use the
also I'm
production method to actually
other.
make it.
Oh, sorry. Continue.
Yeah,
Also, I'm pretty sure like
please finish.
people like Apple also have like pretty other scummy things where they basically make sure that all mostly I think like only Apple devices can connect to other Apple devices. And also, are you one of those believers who believe that Apple immediately tries to on purpose make their stuff die quicker?
That's fine. I don't know if they do that. I don't think so. Apple products are generally considered quite higher quality and hold pretty long. Sure, obvious. At some point, they may say, we don't support this product anymore, or we don't make any
Mm-hmm.
replacement parts for it anymore, or when it breaks, you need to buy another one because we won't repair it. Obviously, that's a thing. But I wouldn't know that they keep the product short lived or something. Generally, it's fine to have short-lived, shorty products, because shorty product usually means it's cheaper than the competitor. Um, and if you just need something temporarily and you don't care much about how long it will last you, you just buy the shorty product, and that's entirely fine. And there's nothing wrong for a company to make an intentionally shorty product, if it is, especially if it is cheaper than the competitors. If you want something that lasts you forever, then buy more, then pay more and get it.
I
So
don't
for
know.
the
Just oh, sorry for interrupting you. We
oh, I
really
was
got
finished.
bad. Oh, you finished? All right.
Yeah.
All right. Because I know. Sorry, don't call me conspiracy theory. And second of all, is your guy here yet?
No,
Wait,
it's
where is
it's
he? Like,
38 minutes and he's still not here. I think he's scared. I don't know.
what is he? He's like a communist or something?
Yeah, he's a communist. He's a Marxist communist, from the how's it called? American Communist Party.
Jeez.
Yeah,
I think actually. Hey, quick question. Do you know people like mid? I think it was like. Try to remember these communists I used to talk to. They're like Midwestern, something Midwestern Marx or whatever. I swear, I really hate those guys mainly because what did I notice is that they basically talk less about communism and more about anything that's anti-capitalism or anything that's anti-American.
yeah. That's a
Which I
general theme
find
of them. So when you are a Marxist communist, you hate all culture that currently exists. It's not just you're not just anti-American. You are anti everything, because everything in the current order, all culture, all religion, all individuality, uh, all ideology, all political aspects, all law, all of that is a product of a bourgeois society. It wouldn't
great.
exist as in a communist society. It needs to be abolished. Marx explicitly said that the system of family, of marriage, of what else? Of the nation, of the country, of
Of the
moral, of law, of political ideology, of differences. All of that needs or would be abolished in the transition phase to communism. And in communism, it is gone. It doesn't exist anymore.
Mhm.
He explicitly says that in the manifesto of the Communist Party. I can look that part up. Let me see. That's further up. Page 73.
Because because while you find that page, while you quite continue to find that page, I gotta agree with you because one thing I also noticed that a lot of them literally start supporting fascism. Ironically, like they actually support actual fascists because hey, it's anti-American, it's anti-capitalist, it's anti everything we know today. Which I always find a bit funny.
Hmm.
Like some people will on like I forgot this one guy, but basically he was an actual drunk communist, and he told me to my face. Well, of course not directly in my face, since we were talking online. But he said North Korea is a good place. Everyone gets a meal to eat, and they all go into
Yeah,
production.
that's usually coping, because they have nothing to point at that actually works. So they point at these dictatorships and think they are
I
communists, but they're
told
not.
well,
So to be clear, North Korea is not actually communist. Communism is something
exactly
that can't be
told
achieved.
that
It's impossible.
more of a kingdom, the actual communism. I was
It's
like, God, dude, don't say North Korea is a communist nation if you don't want to. I'm perfectly fine calling them a monarchy. They're more of a monarchy than an actual capitalist.
Oh, they're not a monarchy. A monarchy is quite different.
You know what I mean by monarchy?
Well, yeah,
Because
maybe the basic political system, but there are many other monarchies that are entirely different. So a monarchy is not a actual ideology in the way that communism is, because it just describes the inner workings of a particular state. So Monaco is a monarchy. Britain is a monarchy. Liechtenstein is a monarchy. This Saudi Arabia is a monarchy, and North Korea is a monarchy. None of these nations have anything in common with each other. They're very different, very very different.
I know
Um,
the only reason I jokingly around say that North Korea is a monarchy is because of Kim Jong Un and the Kim's family,
it's
right?
more of a
Because basically
theocracy.
it's a bit funny that oh, fun fact, my son will become the next ruler, and then his son will become the next ruler. Sounds
Yeah,
very common.
but
me.
that is because they think their rulers are literal gods. So Kim Jong Un, well, North Korea would be more akin to a theocracy in that sense. So anyway, I have a point here in the manifesto of the Communist Party on page, where is it? Where's the page? 44 of the
44?
PDF of the PDF though. But don't wrangle with us so long as you apply to our intended abolition of bourgeois property, the standard of your bourgeois notions of freedom, culture, law, etc. Your very ideas are but the outgrowth of the conditions of your bourgeois production and bourgeois property, just as your jurisprudence is but the will of your class made into law for all, a will whose essential character and distinction are determined by the economic conditions of your existence of your existent class. Can read today. So, like I said, your bourgeois notions of freedom, culture, law, etc. That's what he's referring to, and then he says will be abolished essentially. Abolition of the family, even the most radical flare up of this infamous proposal of the communists. Literally, that's literally what he said. On what foundation is the present family, the bourgeois family, based? On capital, on privileged, on private gain. It is completely developed from this family exists only among the bourgeoisie. But this state of things find its complement in the practical absence of the family among the proletarians and in the public prostitution. I literally can't read today. So, the bourgeois family will vanish as a matter of course when it completely vanishes, and both will vanish with the vanishing of capital. It's written really bad. But
Basically,
yeah,
basically, just to summarize it, just say that Marx says family is
abolition
bad.
of the
Because you never
family.
gotta go.
He
Like,
says
no,
abolition of the family. He further describes how children will be raised by a community as a whole, and not by the parents. The bourgeois claptrap about the family and education, about the hollowed correlation of parents and children, becomes all the more disgusting. The more by the action of modern industry, all the family ties among the proletarians are torn assured. The children are transformed into simple articles of commerce and instruments of labor. But you communists would introduce a community of women. That's about marriage, I think, where the woman won't marry men anymore. They will instead have their woman thing. What did he say? Where is it? The bourgeois sees his wife as a mere instrument of production. He hears that the instrument, yeah, they introduced a community of women. That essentially means that all women will be in or will be in either one big organization or together in smaller organizations, instead of being married to men. Bourgeois marriage is in reality a system of wives in common, and thus, at the most, what the communism might possibly reproach with is the desire to introduce and substitute for a hypothetically concealed, openly legalized community of women. Yeah. The communists are further reproaching with the desire to abolish countries and nationality. Yeah, there it is. The working men have no country. We cannot take from them what they have not got, since the proletariat must first of all acquired political supremacy must rise to be the leading class of the nation, must constitute itself the nation. It is so far itself national, though not the bourgeois sense of the word. National differences and antagonism between people are daily more and more vanishing, owing to the development of the bourgeoisie, to freedom of commerce, to the world market, to uniformity in the mode of production and the conditions of life corresponding thereto. The supremacy of the proletariat will cause them to vanish still faster. United actions of the leading civilized countries, at least, is one of the first conditions for the emancipation of the proletariat, in proportion as the exploitation of one individual by another will also be put to an end, to the exploitation of one nation by another will also be put to an end. In proportion at the antagonism between classes within the nation vanishes, the hostility of one nation to another will come to an end. The charges against communism made from then we come to religion and stuff. That's again another point. But as you can see, they abolish nationality and countries.
Yeah.
That is a essential part of it. Then we also come to religion and all this kind of stuff. There are, besides eternal truths such as freedom, justice, etc., that are common to all states of society. But communism will abolish this eternal truth. It abolishes all religion and all morality instead of constituting them on a new basis. It therefore acts in contradiction to all past historical experiences. Again, abolishment of morality, of religion, of freedom, of justice, of all of that. Gone.
Oh gosh. Okay,
It
last thing
literally
I have
stands there.
many things to say from that. Like wow. My biggest thing I gotta say is that quick question. What happens when you abolish all them? What's left to fill the void? Other
Exactly
than,
nothing. So what Marx says here is that the proletariat has none of that. It doesn't exist for the proletariat. It only exists for the bourgeoisie, and therefore for the proletariat nothing will change. That's
oh
essentially what
my
he
god.
says. Um,
So wait, you're saying that? Oh no, not you. Obviously Marx.
Marx
But
says.
Marx is basically saying that people that literally religion, culture, and even basically even the love, the sexual stuff, is controlled all by the bourgeoisie. Okay, I can understand maybe religion, maybe that, but as sometimes they can be corrupted. But like culture and even the housewife stuff, that's pretty extreme, even for like honestly, just trying to say that it doesn't make sense at that rate, because culture is like literally fundamental to like every single person. It's not even a thing that's like it was basically a thing even before the first means of production were even a thing.
Where do you think all this modern cultural Marxism? So cultural Marxism is very similar to that, except that instead of having economic classes defined as the bourgeoisie, which is the class that owns the means of production, and the proletariat, which is those who use the means of production to produce stuff. So meaning the workers. So instead of having these two classes in cultural Marxism, you have whites, you have blacks, you have women, you have all these kinds of different traits attributed to individuals, and they make these classes, and there is a class struggle between them, essentially a struggle between the blacks and the whites. And when you read all this cultural Marxist literature, it's very similar to exactly that. That's exactly why you will hear from leftists, no borders, no nations. Where you think that comes from? Where you think we want to abolish marriage? It's a patriarchal suppression of the woman, of women. What do you think that comes from? Where you think it comes from that they want to censor speech? Why they want to destroy the nation, the state as it is currently, and implement something entirely new? Where do you think all these DEI programs come from? To abolish the distinctions between the classes, obviously. That is
Oh gee.
exactly the same ideology, just on culture, on race, on ethnicity, nationality, gender, sex, all this stuff. All of that is essentially like or at least the struggles between these groups that is based on Marxist ideas. These struggles can only be abolished with the abolishment of capitalism, with the abolishment of the current state of things, with the current eternal truth, so to speak, with a unifying of everything, and with the abolishment of the nation and the country, because
Yeah.
otherwise they will always persist. Because all
Okay.
these things are a
Oh, continue.
product of a patriarchal, racist society. I'm currently reading the book. That's the wrong book. Fuck. have so many books lying around. So in Right Fragility, Robin DiAngelo, you probably heard of that person. She
Hmm.
describes exactly that. She says that all modern ideologies, all modern morals, all modern institutions are a product of a racist society, and therefore racism is deeply embedded to it, even if it isn't directly described. That's why she calls tax cuts indirectly in this stupid book a racist thing. It is
Oh my.
racist. Everything is racist in the current society. Every white person must be a racist in the current society, and they can't do anything about it. It's just how it is, because the current structure of society is racism. It must be racism because it developed from a racist previous stage, and it can only cease to be racist by abolishing everything that is currently here and that came before, by creating something entirely new. And this entirely new thing, that is communism.
Wow.
And these
Just
leftists believe this shit to this day, just in a different way. They haven't
geez. Just,
changed a little bit.
wow. Just saying that's a lot of stuff. Damn. Honestly, a lot of people like to joke, "Oh, human nature won't allow this." And at first, I was like, "All right, maybe they're right. Maybe they are joking. Maybe human nature isn't really the issue." But then the more I read this, the more I realize that no, human. This is like going against everything with humanity. This is like going through everything we evolved through, every cultural shift we went through. Like just basically every like age of history. This is like going against it all
Mm.
throughout. Like you know what I mean? Because throughout history, throughout time, throughout all of our culture on Earth, we all developed these things, and basically they just want us to get rid of all of it, and that we have to get rid of all of it. That it's all bad. That all of it was bad, no matter what, and the only way is to burn it all down. Like,
So
geez, that's
to be very clear, this is not just against human nature. Obviously, it is. But when we talk about the
I,
restructuring of society into one big worker institution, so to speak, without any classes, that's a thing that is universally not possible. No matter what kind of species, what kinds of traits these species it doesn't matter. The only way to efficiently allocate resources is through a price structure with money. There is
mm-hmm.
no other way. You can't have any form of civilization without that, no matter the species, no matter what. When we meet aliens, they won't have a communist society. It is a absolute impossibility. It's not just that humans don't have it because of human nature. No, no, it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with humans being unusually greedy, or humans can't get along with each other or something. Obviously, that's a thing, but it doesn't matter to the structuring of society or of the economy. The only possibility to create a civilization with advanced forms of production, meaning the production of computers, of electronics, of cars, of building large structures and buildings, the only way to get to that point is by the efficient allocation of resources, which is only possible with a price structure, no matter the
Yep.
species.
Not to mention the fact that you need something to actually motivate people to actually get those new things as well. Other than the state
Sure,
telling
to
you.
a degree, that's also important. But the most important thing is the allocation of these resources, which, like I
Yes.
said, only possible with a price structure. There is no other way. It doesn't exist. Whatever you
Mm.
could call this money that arises from that will always be some form of money. Another culture might call it differently or may use it differently, but it will be very similar to it. Um, and the way money develops is usually into something like silver or gold, as a foundation of all money. That's
That's shiny, valuable, or more importantly, rare.
that's not even the thing. The reason why it is so good is because they are very universal. It exists essentially everywhere to some degree. Sure, in
Mhm.
some parts more rare than others, but you can
Of
carry
course.
it around easily. You can't manipulate it to a large degree. Like you can just
Yeah, of
make
course.
more of it. That's very important. And well, it's not too much used in production. It is still used in production, but not to a degree such as wood, and that's
Of course,
very important.
yeah. But again, I gotta say one thing. That it's been like an hour. You guys still not here. But anyways, thank you very much. You're like really, really teaching me a lot about everything.
Yeah, I don't think he will appear. I called him again, asked him, "Hello, are you there?" But no, nothing. So I'm just
So,
here
do you want to
monologuing.
just continue talking, or you want to invite someone else, or
Yeah, is
what?
anyone else here who wants to talk with me and about
Yeah, why not?
communism and what communism is? Anyone who wants to contribute something? Just
Yeah,
again, for those who weren't at the beginning here, you can use one of these symbols as you can see here, like this handshake from the emojis if you want to talk up, and then I
yeah.
will give you speaking permissions.
Anyone else? Hmm. All right. Guess give them a little while. Let's see what they do. Oh,
Oh,
okay. I guess.
Bay want to call. Ah, Phil wants to talk. Or Bale, how are you? Oh, it's now I muted myself. Oops. Invite to speak.
Wait, isn't Bale the
Uh,
guy who created that cursed Yang image?
oh yeah. Oh my God. No, not the cursed Yang image. Well, the buff Yang.
There.
Okay,
There.
so
Yeah,
a quick
there.
question: why did you create that image of Yang, that buff AI image? It's so cursed. I have to
Just
wash my
out
eyes.
Yeah,
just as a
because
joke.
I hate him and he hates me or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a love-hate
Yeah,
relationship kind of.
fuck you.
Uh
Because that was insane.
I just got this idea because Yang made this weird random OC generator, and it just said
Oh
Yang being incredibly muscular, and
Oh
that
my
that was
god.
just like, what the fuck? Okay, I
and
can I
black
can
and
do that.
trans
Like, what if?
and a black trans man and zombie.
And yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my.
Yeah, insane.
But I mean, I just wanted to go with the most hilarious thing, and then like, what's more
Yeah.
hilarious than Yang being incredibly muscular? Like that's totally the antithesis of what Yang
It's not true.
is
She's
physically.
pretty strong. She's pretty sporty.
Yeah, but she
Or in
doesn't
an
look
agile
buff.
way though. Yeah, she's not buff, obviously.
If you know, to be perfectly honest, you know what's stronger than a super incredibly buffed human? A bear. Do they look super buffed?
No.
No,
I
especially
mean
not when you shake.
Yang can take on a
Quick
lion. That's
question:
pretty
how
cool.
large is Yang again?
Yang is on two legs, slightly taller than a human in
Oh,
composition.
all right. Because dragons obviously are bigger and larger than humans, and also more. Also, depending on what type of dragon, as some dragons I've seen, which are a bit more realistic, actually makes them slightly weaker if you actually make them human size, because flights, because they have to actually be light enough to actually fly. But ignoring that, most dragons are also like pretty even stronger than humans naturally. Like I'm sure you couldn't just get like an incredibly buff person and then tell them to like beat up a dragon.
Yeah.
That wouldn't work
If your
Yeah.
dragon
unless
is
you.
heavy, just make the wings stronger.
To be fair, oh, no, yeah, Yang could still take on someone. Just because she has claws, these claws are very powerful. You
Of
can have
course,
as much buff as you want. When Yang cuts open your arms and rips them out, you can't do shit because suddenly the muscles are gone, and that's
she
just
basically
gold.
just she basically just London's them.
She's a predator, so that's quite important. Or dragons in general are predators, and which, by the way, in the world of the Vexham Empire, predators are quite rare as a civilized civilization or civilized species. Um, and the reason why they developed like that is because they had a very unique upbringing in their evolution. So they could in a 101 with the other species, they would absolutely destroy them with almost all of them.
Hmm.
And exactly the same with the lion. They could take on a lion on their own. Obviously, among dragons, they're not that strong, because one dragon against another dragon is pretty equal in terms
Yeah.
of biological predisposed conditions and such. Um, However, even with another civilized being, They would probably in a proper context, in a modern context, they have weapons. Gun is still the best equalizer that is out there. They have exoskeletons and all this stuff, and with it, it's a lot more equal. So effectively, it's more equal. But in theory, if there would be like a sports competition where all of that is not allowed, they would completely dismantle them.
Yeah. So, quick question. Speaking about predators and stuff, do you think what do you think is more likely of becoming a spacefaring civilization? A predator species, not predator species, basically a species that basically one that mainly eats meat, one that mainly eats vegetables, and one that eats both. I know there's terms for what they are, but like I just forgot because I'm such
Meat.
a you know
So you
carnivore.
need a
Yeah.
species that has a large intake of meat because plants don't provide the proper nutritions that
Yeah,
would be required for a brain as complex of that of a human. That's why vegans have such huge issues to sustain themselves and get very quickly
yeah,
depressed and all kinds of other mental health problems. That's a natural thing that just occurs because they don't have the nutrition intake that would be required for a species like a human to be human, to develop civilization. So when you want to
yeah.
have a species with a large brain that has the cellular powers to actually develop a civilization, then you need a species that at least takes in some good amounts of meat from time to time. Otherwise, it's not possible.
You also you can think of it like the amount of energy you can take in through a
Yeah,
meal. Um, you know, by a certain amount of time. That must be a surplus compared to all the energy that you used up for like working on a field or something
of
and
course.
build stuff and not just, oh, I'm existing and I'm consuming what I'm making. You're
Yeah,
always trying to produce a surplus, and for that you need energy. So the more energy you take in, the more energy you're capable to take in, the more you can work and create a surplus.
of
Yeah.
course.
So it's not now 1 hour that he should be here for 1 hour now, and he's still not here.
It's over an
I
hour,
think
yeah.
someone just dodged the funny debate because he realized, oh shit, that dude can really speak German and he's really up for that crap.
Yeah.
What am I doing now?
Imagine if he was actually here, like he just had like a random account and he was actually just listening to
Well,
us.
then he
And
could
oh
still
my
DM
god,
me. I check my DMs all the time. I'm like constantly checking them right now, but there's nothing from him.
Mhm.
He's literally dead, essentially. By the way, I have here my folder that's called Marxist Nonsense. Let me open it quickly. So there is the German version of the Communist Manifesto in which I had multiple things marked for him. Let me see. Where is it? Vorwort. Oi, 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 that's very German. Um, did I not? Oh yeah, I did, but I didn't say what page. Ah, crap. Anyway,
nice.
so what he essentially did is he said that I used in the debate that we had as initially in text form. Now I can talk about it anyway because he won't come in here at this point, I think. So the debate we had was based on what Marx believed is communism, and I provided several quotes from the manifesto of the Communist Party about Marx's beliefs about how a communist society would look like, roughly look like. And he essentially said, that's not what he said. That's out of context. That's a misinterpretation of what he said. That's not true, and so on. And he at some point then asked me, well, did you also read the original German version? And I was like very smart.
Oh,
Actually,
you got
I am German and I read that fucking shit in original. And he got very mad. He called me all kinds of slurs that I'm a liar and so on. Later in
Yeah.
didn't happen in the replies. He said that to me in
jeez.
Direct messages.
yeah, in the private in my DMs, right? So he said that in my
Yeah.
DMs. He said that Marx never used the term abolishment in the original translation. And I was like, did he not? I was pretty sure he
Wait, then
did.
if
So
he
I
wasn't to
got
abolish, what
so
was he using?
I said that Marx wants to abolish all kinds of things. That's essentially what I said. And he refuted that, or tried to refute that by saying he never used the term abolishment in the original translation. So I opened the original translation, and the German word for abolishment is abschaffen. So I typed in abschaff, and 12 results. Ooh, that is not quite true. So what do we have here? And here is the term Abschaffung, Abschaffen, and other kinds of variations of it. You can also use the term abschaffen in another way, where you essentially say schaffen, then you insert the thing you want to abolish, and then you say ab. So that's a bit confusing German for you. But yeah, he said Abschaffung in multiple contexts, like the abolishment of wage labor, the abolishment of classes, of the bourgeois production of he abolishes the nationality, the exact same thing that I just read to you from the translated English version of the Communist Manifesto. He also said in the original translation. So I have no idea what he was talking about. And I told him that he used the term abolishment, the German term abolishment. By the way, very funny. That I just noticed when I looked through the stuff right a moment ago again. So apparently, the English translation even has the term abschaffen, the German word abschaffen, actually in the text.
In like brackets.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I didn't even notice that. That would have been funny when I noticed that the first time. I did notice it now, so I would have probably brought that up in the debate if he were here, but he isn't.
As far as I know,
What am I supposed to do?
it's because in German and in English the words have different layers of meanings
Yeah.
embedded into them. So to clarify all the layers that are included in the German, you include the German word, so that it's clear. Like, yes, we actually mean all the layers that are used in the German word.
Another thing is German has a lot of words to describe the exact same thing. And Marx, especially Marx, and I hinted at that earlier where I explained that Marx talks a lot about around the fucking point. He never makes a straight point. He rather likes to talk around it. And German provides a lot of ways to do that. Instead of straight out saying, yeah, we want to abolish this thing, he explains how to abolish it without actually saying abolishment. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny. So yeah, the English translation is obviously very different in that regard because the English language doesn't provide the spaces. You can't really do that. If you want to be somewhat understandable, you have to be a little bit more forward. So yes, it's written differently.
Yeah, there's two reasons why Marx wrote the way he did. First of all, he just wanted to pretend that he's intelligent.
Probably, most likely.
That is like one of the reasons, and the second reason is well, write a lot of words, and the result is a big book instead of just like 20 pages.
Oh yeah. Take the
No,
manifesto
you
of
know,
the Communist Party. It has like what 38, 39 pages, I think. It's not long. It's
Yeah.
really not long. But even that you can break down on 1 or 2 pages.
jeez. You know
Take
what my
the
personal opinion
entire
is?
yeah.
Oh, never mind. Oh, my personal opinion is I personally believe that he actually didn't really actually have an idea of what to replace it with. And I personally also believe that he kind of maybe possibly thought that his followers, or if anyone actually was smart enough to, or dumb enough, more likely to follow him,
Oh yeah.
that they would actually fill in the gaps for him. But unlike people like the founding fathers, he of course had honestly no idea, and it was just mainly focusing on that with no idea of how
Mm,
anyone was gonna do it.
that's
Basically, like, oh, no worries, we're just gonna make it work as we go on. That's my idea of what he's probably was thinking about. You know,
So that's very much what happened as well. Like Engels provided a lot of extra. Wait, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah,
Yes.
we can all hear you.
Why
Yeah.
doesn't? Oh no, I don't know. That was weird. Yeah, the little thing that indicates that you're talking was just gone when I talked for me. I don't know why, but now it was. Anyway,
Yeah.
so let's take das Kapital for example. So or capital in the English version.
Das Kapital.
Das Kapital has 356 pages. You can break it down on 10. I'm not even kidding you. It is absolute disastrous. It means nothing. He says nothing in there. He just repeats himself over and over and over and over again. And he has these very convoluted, very long sentences. There are pages in Das Kapital, in the original German. I don't know about the English translation, but in the original German, he has sentences that where he or an entire page with 4 sentences, and there is no space at all. So he makes 4 sentences so long that you can fill an entire page with it.
Jeez.
That is
It's
not
just so convoluted.
understandable. You can't
Even the
work this out.
excerpts you gave in this talk,
Incredibly long.
they were so convoluted and just repeat again and again.
Yes.
Right in this in that single citation, you say like one thing 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm starting to believe that the only reason why he wrote like this was because he wanted to basically make his work seem longer so that his teacher can actually think that he's actually doing more
It's
work.
that, and it's very hard to criticize that. And that's very important. When you're a Marxist and you don't actually have an ideology, because they don't know what they believe in, they just babble something. Okay, they don't know how communism would actually look like. They just know how it doesn't look like, and that is the current thing of the current state of things. But communism would look somehow different, and they're very vague about that. And to hide any critique of that, they just make these very convoluted sentences. How are you supposed to, for example, criticize an argument that is 356 pages long?
Yeah.
Where you even start? Yeah, exactly. That's
It's
a
the
very good
origin of
strategy.
this wall of text meme thing
Yeah.
that the
Oh
left
my
does.
God.
Oh yeah.
Well,
That's yeah.
well, you know, well,
That's the idea behind it. That's where this
yeah.
wall of text
leftist
thing comes
memes
from.
very long of a wall of text. Exactly
Yeah.
the same with all
I
Marx.
genuinely
And Yang, you mentioned that Marx doesn't really explain what communism looks like in his book.
No,
He
it
just
doesn't.
vaguely describes how perfect it is and shit.
And what it
And
doesn't have.
that is because his writings are primarily religious or cultish scripture, and he believed that this communism, this finite stage, this final phase of history, during this phase he doesn't need to describe it because it all falls magically into place, because at this point humanity is completed,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
and it just clicks into place. So he doesn't, it's not necessary for him to describe it because it's just gonna happen regardless. It's the final phase of history. It's utopia, you know.
Exactly. I mean, he literally
No,
described it like
no.
the end of history. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So let us talk about the principles of communism, written in October 1847. That is a complementary work by Engels to the Manifesto for the Communist Party, or of the Communist Party, I think. There, he gave a list of things that the Communist Party would need to do to create the communist society. That is the closest we can get to what communism would actually look like. Like I said, written by Engels, not by Marx. Marx, however, made the exact same list, just a little bit, with a little bit text, less text actually. Congratulations, Marx. He actually made something shorter than the complementary work. So, but it's a bit better to understand because Engels is a lot more straightforward with how it would look like. Because I think Marx knew a little bit more that he was an idiot than Engels, and Engels was kind of like pulled with it and just believed it because he didn't quite understand it. So he babbled a lot
He
about
just went
stuff
along
and
with it and tried to
exactly, and that's
explain
why
it
he
as
was
best he
more
could.
straightforward as well, because he didn't know that he
Yeah.
needs to hide something. So let us go through the several points that need to be established to abolish to establish communism. So the first point that needs to be done is limitation of private property through progressive taxation, heavy inheritance tax, abolishment of inheritance eventually, and forced loans. That is the first part, and that is something we partially already have. Like, we have a progressive tax, we have inheritance tax,
Yeah.
which is also quite progressive, and forced loan systems do exist as well. We come to that later on how these forced loans work, because that's what
Like, what does he
fractional
mean by
reserve banking is.
forced? Like, what does he mean by that?
So forced
Forced.
loans are fractional reserve banking, essentially, where
Oh,
yeah, what all nations today have. So
got it.
then two would be gradual expropriation of landowners, industrialists, railroad magnates, and ship workers, ship owners, partially through competition by state industry. Yeah, they are very competitive. Partly directly through compensation in the form of bonds. So that's also something that partially happens. Like, we have a lot of nationalized industries in these sectors, in railroad and ship ownership and all this kind of stuff, and we
Yep.
see how that worked. Absolutely nothing. It's a horrible policy decision that didn't work at all. Germany in particular, they have a lot of these things entirely state owned or largely state controlled. As third position was confiscation of the possessions of all immigrants and rebels against the majority of the people. That means everyone who's against the workers, and getting rid of the immigrants, because the immigrants are competition to the current workforce, and that's bad. We can't have that. So that's kind of a little bit Donald Trump like. So next point, the fourth point, is the organization of labor or employment of proletariats on publicly owned land in factories and workshops, with competition among the workers being abolished, and with the factory owners, insofar as they still exist, being obligated to pay the same high wages as those paid by the state. That is very, very fascist. That's exactly what the fascists did. Many of these, literally all of these points, I
Yep.
think, when we go through all these points, all of them were implemented by the fascists, and you saw how that turned out. Dictatorship. But like I said, Mao implemented that. The Soviet Union implemented that less gradually than proposed by Marx, but they implemented it, and all of these attempts didn't work. The fifth point is then equal obligation on all members of society to work until such time as private property has been completely abolished. Formation of industrial armies, especially for agriculture.
Oh
That's
gosh.
essentially like giving the workers arms, firearms, and all this kind of stuff. Now my favorite point comes: centralization of money and credit in the hands of the state through a national bank with state capital, and the suppression of all private banks and bankers. That is the entire modern financial system. There is no difference. We have a big central bank. They provide all kinds of loans. They purchase securities from other banks. They have large controls over these banks by controlling the interest rates. We have national banks like Mary Fay and no, how are they called? Freddie Mac and the other bank. I forgot the name. Loans for college tuitions are provided by the state. All these things, all that already exists. We have 100% implemented that, and all we got from it is one economic crisis after the other. It didn't work again. Seventh point: increase in the number of national factories, workshops, railroads, ships, bridging new land into cultivation, and improvement of land already under cultivation, all in proportion to the growth of the capital and labor forces at the disposable of the nation. that's essentially just the Soviet strategy of industrializing, massive industrialization,
Yeah.
which wasn't a good idea. It didn't work. So, ninth point, education of all children from the moment they can leave their mother's care in national established what in national establishments at national cost education and production together. That's essentially forced school attendance and forced public school attendance in particular. No private schools, no homeschooling, none of that. That again, the Nazis did that. It didn't work. Public schools are absolute garbage. So, 10th point, construction on public land of great palaces as communal dwellings for associated groups of citizens engaged in both industry, agriculture, and combining in their way of life the advantages of urban and rural conditions while avoiding the one-sidedness and drawbacks of each. That is it's not quite the same, but it has a something that is quite similar to how Kraft durch Freude by the National Socialist Party worked, which was a organization that was dedicated to provide all kinds of amenities to workers. Um, then the 11th point is the destruction of all unhealthy and jerry-built dwellings and in urban districts and such, that the Nazis also did eventually. Obviously, most communist countries didn't got there because at that point there were one big urban disaster that didn't work. Then 12th would be the equal inheritance rights for children born in and out of wedlock. Yeah, that is inheritance re-established for some reason. That's kind of contradictory to a previous point, but these are communists, don't expect too much. 13th point, concentration of all means of transportation in the hands of the nation. That again is a point that already was brought up. That's what I mean. They repeat themselves again and again, and that is literally just a list of things they want, and then they mention the same thing twice. Why? It's just having more text or something. But as you can see, many of these points were established by the Nazi Party. They were established by many other socialist regimes, and none of these things worked ever.
Jeez. So, anyways, that's a lot to take in. Second of all, I'm probably gonna leave in like 8 minutes as I have to go do something later. So I'm already gonna stay on for like 7 more minutes before I leave. But first of all, I was gonna say that's a lot to take in. Like, wow, a
Yeah,
lot of beliefs.
incredible that I read this garbage. You know how what kind of headaches you develop when you read this shit. It's insane.
Honestly, I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure before you were saying, um, um, no, Marx didn't never took any real baths. Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
that.
he never did.
Wait, he didn't
Hated
took
that.
baths and he was also high on drugs too. You said right?
Yeah, he was high on drugs. He was an alcohol addict. He had lavish parties and such. He rarely bathed. He hated bathing. He stunk like a pig. There are police reports when they were in his residence, and they described it as what were the words they used. They use all kinds of words, like an absolute mess. He's slobbish. He stinks. He's also very aggressive. He was described by many people as aggressive,
A
very
literal
authoritative.
redditor. Oh my God.
Yeah, he was absolute. He was the first redditor. He was a fucking neckbeard. He was the king of the neckbeards. That's why redditors are so left wing, because they identify with this individual. He was such a disgusting degenerate. It's insane. He was also a huge hypocrite. He hated. He complained about slavery and how the current state of things is the enslavement of the proletariat, while he literally owned another human being. He had a mite that
A
this
maid,
mite was
yeah.
forced to.
And he banked his maid.
He probably raped her. Yeah, that's that too. And he probably had a
Yeah.
child with her, which he sold his wife as her child,
He
which
lived
he didn't
out
believe.
this ultimate bourgeois lifestyle while complaining about the bourgeoisie, which perfectly mirrors modern day leftists.
Yeah. He
You
Yep.
also
know, who are also complaining about being oppressed, but then they walk into Starbucks and buy like a $12 latte.
yeah, while they stink. So yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
he lived in a mansion at one point, which had what did it cost? £65 per year, plus some extra cash. He spent £500 just on furniture. £500 back then are equivalent
That was
to
a huge sum of money.
Yep.
$80,000 today.
Yep. I mean, to be fair,
That's huge.
he literally got all his money. I'm not mistaken. Or basically his father and who else was it again? Like his father and because I remember like most of his money because
So he
I'm
got
pretty sure he
a lot
did
of
like
money
take
from
a few
Engels.
jobs.
So Engels' family were industrialists.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of money. He also inherited money from Wolf. How was the name? Something Wolf, Wilhelm Wolf, I think. And from him he inherited 1,500, £1,800 or something, which is the equivalent today to £200,000 or something. 170,000, I think. That's what he inherited back then. So yeah, he got a lot of money from different people, not just like during his education. Obviously, got the money from his parents. Later, his parents didn't finance his lifestyle anymore because he was an absolute failure and degenerate, and they didn't even want to associate with him anymore. He exploited
But
his
by then
mother.
he had
He,
Engels.
he literally stole money from his sick mother's bank account.
Yeah.
He was the most horrible person you could possibly imagine. This individual was evil to the core, and to make this even worse, the communists today, or back then, the socialists tried to hide all of that. They tried to make him publicly look better than he was actually. They hated this image of themselves, but they knew that he was the smartest of them, or the only one who could write a text that sounds logical, or at least sounds complicated enough that no one would check how logical it is. Yeah, that's why they collaborated with him. And even the socialists hated him in the end. They complained about him never being on time, never finishing his work on time. And they had to pressurize him to finally bring something to the table. Yeah, he was such a horrible human being. Two of his children died because he was such a slob. Because it was just so
Jeez.
dirty in his home. He himself later got a disease because of his
Well,
slobbishness
anyways,
and
I
died
feel
of it.
like this is yeah. Well, I think this is a good moment for me to end. So I'm just going to leave now. See you later. Have a nice one. So this was a really good
All
talk.
right.
Have a nice day, I guess. Because I'm gonna go. I have to go now. Go do something
Yeah.
else.
Nice. All
So
right.
I'm
Bye
just saying this
bye.
was a
Nice.
very nice talk. So see you later.
Bye
Have a
Yeah.
nice
bye.
one.
Unfortunately,
Yeah, he's still not
the
here.
commie
I
one.
was so
Yeah.
anticipated him being here.
Ah.
Someone told me I laugh exactly like another anarcho-capitalist he knows. That's funny. Someone told me that in DMs. That's funny. Yeah. Do I? No, that wasn't mine.
I don't know.
I have multiple laughs. Sometimes it's higher pitched, sometimes lower pitched, sometimes it's weird. Sometimes
Well,
it's
as long as you don't laugh like
like
Hassan Abi, it's okay.
how does Hassan laugh? At least it's not
He's got
Kamala Harris.
this really
Kamala Harris has the worst.
weird.
But well, I think I will end the stream at this point now because
Uh-huh.
he won't come
Yeah,
clearly.
he's not gonna.
I'm surprised he didn't block me yet. Let me check his Twitter account actually. Did he post anything on Twitter in recent time? 3 hours ago was the last post he did. Huh.
Oh,
Too bad. He's not online at all at this time. I don't know. Did he forget it? Is he scared? Did I said something wrong? Let me check again the day that I taped
I
it.
mean, he's a commie. Do not attribute to incompetence what can be attributed to malice when it comes to commies.
So I asked him yesterday, 11:36 a.m. So is the time now good? Yes or no? Tomorrow, 2 p.m. UTC -5. It's now 3 p.m. 32 at UTC -5, and he said yesterday, 11:37 a.m. sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
I said perfect. Only us speaking, blah blah blah. Yeah. He also said he wants to invite some other people who can listen to it. I showed him again a screenshot with the scheduled date and everything. He said, "All right, gotcha." Yeah, it looked exactly like he would be here at this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, pussy.
Where?
I find it so funny because he wanted the debate. He asked me very aggressively, "Come into a debate, you faggot." Something along those lines. Let me check it again.
I mean, if we really, really want to give him the benefit of the doubt,
Probably forgot.
he might have just forgotten about it.
Yeah,
Like I don't know, maybe he fell asleep or something. Because come on, he's a Marxist, he's a commie. These people never learned to like have a schedule and wake up at like adequate times. He's probably sleeping in. He's probably drugged. He's probably drunk or something.
So
You know,
let's not speculate
benefit of the
about him.
doubt.
So he said the debate was scheduled first, and he said,
Yes, I mean,
"Okay, debate me live, then faggot asshole." That's what he said. So then,
I mean, you can send him a message like, "Hey, I won the debate that you didn't show up for, faggot."
I won't call him a faggot, but he said, "Okay, debate me live, then faggot asshole."
Yeah, I mean,
I screenshotted that
calling him a
again
faggot
a
would
day
be like,
afterwards. I screenshotted that because he didn't respond after I said, "All right, when do you want?" Then I screenshotted that and posted that with a tweet where I said, "How is it?" At then his weird name that I can't pronounce. Do you want debate me? Do you want to debate me or not? You seemed very interested in a debate after all, and since you read Marx too, we can certainly have a discussion about how he defines communism. I'm always eager for you to translate the original German version too. It then took a few hours till he responded, "I DM'd you, furry freak." And he did DM me then. And yeah, he DM'd me. What did he write? Right. So when are we doing a live debate, you creep German furry freak? And I said, you asked me for a debate, so give me a time. Then he coped a lot about my arguments, how bad they were before without actually naming a date. Like, communists never give a straight answer, not even something as simple as give me a date. He never gave
that's
me a
because
date,
you're
by the
the
way.
enemy, and defeating the enemy
I'm not
is.
kidding you. He wanted the debate. I told him, give me a time you want to debate, or give me multiple times where you would like or where you would be up for a debate, and I say when we can do it in accordance to to your suggestions or whatever.
Yeah.
He never gave me a date. Never. I was the one proposing the time eventually. Where is it? I gotta do real life stuff now. Just give me like 3 proposed dates and times, and I pick one tomorrow morning when I'm back. Or later, we'll see when I'm free again. Looking forward for the debate. He didn't give me a date to that. Next morning, I then responded with, sure, just a 1v1 topic, up to you. You asked for it after all. And so on. He still didn't give me a date. He just again started criticizing my arguments that they were wrong for some reason without actually giving any argument. So I was the one finally proposing something. Texas time for me, 2 or 3 p.m. maybe, and we schedule for 1 to 2 hours. Okay, but what time zone is it? Blah blah blah. I said Houston. That is UTC -5.
Mhm.
He still didn't told me. Do you want 1 or 2 p.m.? So I asked him. Good then. 2 p.m. Is that fine for you? He didn't respond to that. So he again talked about something entirely different. And then I finally asked him. So, right. So is the time now good? Yes or no? Tomorrow, 2 p.m. UTC -5. And then he said, sounds good. That already was quite suspicious to me because he tried to dodge to schedule the debate for a proper time. So I had to literally pinpoint him on a time. And now he doesn't show up.
Yeah.
Like 1 hour and 37 minutes into the debate, or well, the proposed debate, and he's still not here. I'm still sitting here alone. Or, well, not alone, y'all are here, but I'm sitting here with a bunch of people who agree with me, telling them why I'm correct and why he's wrong, why he's not even here.
Yeah.
He lost it so hard. He already lost in the comment section, which he denies to this date, by the way. He denies that he lost. He said, "Oh, you just claimed victory over me, but I didn't. But you didn't won yet." And I was like, technically, other people claimed that, and I just agreed. Like other people saw the debate and said, "Oh well, Yang completely annihilated you," and yeah, he couldn't cope with it or something. Quite funny. I have a message here. Based on what I've heard so far, do you think at all that the warning Bezmenov gave can be considered accurate, considering how progressive the modern Western culture around the world has become? Bezmenov. I'm very bad with
Basmanov
names.
was the guy who explained subversion, this process of
The
undermining
communist
and
subversion.
destroying. Yes, it's a communist
Yeah,
subversion of like Western culture.
yeah. That's essentially what modern progressivism is.
Yeah,
It is it's the subversion of modern culture. To be fair, it's more of a cultural Marxist thing. It wasn't even proposed by Karl Marx himself. It was something
it's
that was later,
neo-Marxism.
yeah, it was later developed by the Soviet Union. They implemented the system. They tried to subvert the United States with it, and that was later adopted by the cultural Marxists that came a little bit
Yeah,
after that.
yeah. I
But
mean
the phenomenon of
the
cultural subversion did exist.
yeah. I mean the father of it is Gramsci with his cultural hegemony thing that he wrote in the 30s. I think 38 when he wrote it, completed it.
Could be.
Or no, he did write it in like 1926 or something while he was in prison or something, and maybe I'm confusing something there. And then it was released in 1938 or something like that.
Mm. I, by the way, recorded all of this. So all my
Yeah.
explanations of what Marx believed in, I recorded. That's nice. Plus screen.
And then in the 60s they began calling this subversion of like cultural hegemony to like infiltrate all institutions, to subvert culture. In the 60s they coined the term the long march through the institutions, and that is basically what they did since the 60s. And that's why our schools are full of Marxist teachers. That's why Hollywood is like full of Marxist ideology in its movies. They're introducing
And
it.
that started very early, by the way.
Yeah, why our politics are full of socialists everywhere, and socialist
To
policies.
get Hollywood in particular. Um,
Yeah,
it was already Walt Disney who tried to get rid of the communists in his company. There were all
yeah,
kinds of actors, of employees who were communist in the company that tried to subvert his company, and he tried to get rid of them. They formed a labor union, which was essentially communist, and we later found out that every single of his accusations, for which he was sued over, by the way, every single one of these accusations turned out to be truth, absolute accurate. There were institutions in the government who said, yes, that's correct. He was actually right about what happened there. And that's, by the way, also where the anti-Semitism accusations for Walt Disney come from. Walt Disney wasn't an anti-Semite. He had nothing against Jews. That's completely made up by communists who didn't want to lose their job. Because some of those communists he fired were Jews. He didn't fire them because they were Jews. He fired them because they were communists. He still had a lot of even close employees who were Jewish, and he had no problem with them at all. That was completely made up. But they were also communists, and these communists were fired, and they tried to accuse Walt Disney of all kinds of things. And that's why there are these weird conspiracy theories about Walt Disney being evil and whatever. No, he wasn't. He tried to protect his company and American culture from communism, and that's a very good thing. It was a very honorable thing that he risked the success of his company, his success as an individual, to protect the minds of children, because many of his productions, or all of them back then, were essentially made for children or families. To protect
aimed
these
at
individuals,
children,
despite everything working against him. That is very honorable, and that should be honored. Walt Disney did nothing wrong. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, but communists understand for like a long time that children are easily manipulated, and so they are open to the to like
That's
this indoctrination into communism.
that's also why communists work so hard against school choice. They hate school choice. The idea that you go
They
to a
hate
charter or
homeschooling and
private
everything.
school,
They want
they want everything in a public school, and the public school must be controlled by the federal government, because when they're not
because
controlled by the federal
that's how
government,
they
that's how you can't have that way. When it's not controlled by the federal government, it's not it's harder to culturally subvert it. And when it's a private school, a charter school, or a or when you homeschool even, that is essentially impossible to subvert, because no sane human being puts his child on an ideological commie school where they essentially just learn how to abolish capitalism, but nothing practical. Sure, some completely delusional idiots might do that, but the vast majority of people don't do that. Look at the teachers' unions. They are communists. They are nothing but communists. They hate choice. They hate parents. They hate the parents of their children. They outwardly say that they hate the idea that parents can control what is in the schools, because when the parents are in control, when the market is in control over our children, communism has no chance.
Yeah.
But fine, I have headaches. It's getting worse, and I need some pills against it. So our little commie is not coming. I think that's clear at this point. It's now almost 2 hours, and he's still not here. I talked a lot about communism, what it is according to Marx. I quoted Marx. We've been gone a little bit through the Communist Manifesto. I think I also quoted Engels at some point, and we also looked into the Jewish question. I had even more text prepared for the entire debate. Said we didn't go through that, but it's not that important either. It's just complementary works. So I would end the debate here. That didn't happen. I hope you all have still
Thanks for
enjoyed this.
joining the TED Talk.
Thanks for joining my TED Talk. The TED Talk is over now. Yang has explained enough about communism and why it's evil and bad, and you shouldn't be a communist. Everything about communism is evil. Everything. So,
And don't forget, commies control the world right now.
Exactly.
They're in literally every institution.
Absolutely. They're the worst kind of people you could possibly imagine. That's why so many communist policies proposed by Marx were established or are established. Currently, we have a central bank. We have the entire financial sector controlled by the government, essentially. And that is already a communist proposal. To be fair, it's not communist. it's socialist in a modern sense. I explained that earlier for those who weren't here earlier. Socialism by Karl Marx was not used to refer to the transition process. However, it was later used for to describe the transition process. Marx would agree about what the transition process is and what the Communist Party would need to implement, or the proletariat in a more broad frame. What kind of policies would need to be implemented in the state to use the state against the bourgeoisie. And among these things is a central bank and the control of money, credit, of loans, of debt, and all this kind of stuff. But that's besides the point. I'm over. We've been through all of that. I hope it wasn't too boring. I hope my TED talk was nice. And y'all enjoyed this. See you next time. Bye bye. How do I stop this? Oh, there. Bye bye.
Oh.
Oh, that's off.